is very interesting for two reasons, and the purpose of this video, we're finding out if it's weird or not. The question we look to answer, we ponder over, is this a weird car? Right? That's the question that we're trying to answer. That's top of mind. That's what we're trying to do. So, first of all, yes, it in fact does look like a gigantic horsefly. Just the shape of it, right? So, does that make it weird? Yes, it does look weird, but the circumstances make it a little less weird. When you understand the circumstances of just what was happening during this time period. This car came out in 2009, the start of the EV wars. And during the EV wars, there were kind of three tiers. You had your Wiego, right, which was your tiny little, bopping around the country club EV, right, just standard EV. You had things like the Nissan Leaf and the Coda, which were designed to just be every man's EV, right? Instead of buying the Camry this year, you buy a Coda and you're saving the environment, right? That's the idea. And then you had Tesla, which was the high performance, high function, somewhat useful, but mainly just performance focused EVs. The Mitsubishi fit more in with the Wiego category of just a small little car. It was essentially, imagine a Mirage, but an EV with four doors. That's the entire concept of this car. Now, so is it weird with that context, the context of the EV wars? No, the only thing that's really weird about this car, it's not like the specs or anything, it's just the way it looks. It has these weird headlights, it has these weird fog lights, it looks like it's made out of Play-Doh, it looks like a Japanese train, like one of those maglev trains with the gigantic windshield, and everything is a shape that bows in and then bows out. And then this is painted black, but that's all whites for some reason, even though that's also painted black, and it's painted black down there, and why is this not painted black if that's painted black, and why is this silver? Yes, it is weird, right? The design looks weird, but if you forget just what it looks like, and you remember what they were trying to do, which was fit in with those other EVs, all of a sudden it becomes very standard, right? This is like, you would expect this. During the EV wars, remember, the competitor wasn't a Tesla Roadster, it was more like a Wiego, right? And this was a pretty good competitor, right? It was a somewhat decent looking EV that was cheap at the time, especially for an EV. This thing started at $26,000, I believe. I have the thing to back that up. So, yeah. The circumstances make this not weird. What does make it weird, I'm just going to explain, why the circumstances may make it weird. This is a Toyota Camry, right? Is this a weird car? No, you see these all the time. But if it was made by Tesla and had a Tesla badge on it and Tesla engineered this vehicle instead of Toyota, that would be weird. Is it a weird car? No, but the circumstances make it weird. The Tesla Model 3, is that a weird car? Not really. I mean, they're very common nowadays. If Toyota made that, would that be a weird car? Yes, 100%. You see where I'm getting at here, right? The circumstances that a company is in of, a budget car, right, that wouldn't sprawl for something like an EV or a performance-based EV at that, or a cheap budget brand going for an expensive sedan, right, when they're more into SUVs and crossovers and, not into EVs, right? The circumstances make cars weird. So, when you look at, these two cars side by side, the Mitsubishi I-MiEV and the Nissan Leaf, you can see that, the Mitsubishi I-MiEV started at $22,000. Meanwhile, the Nissan Leaf started at $30,000. And like I said, the specs are pretty simple. 59 miles of battery only. The Leaf had 80. But remember, this one was a $30,000 car, and the other one was a $22,000 car. So there is a price difference, right? This one was rear-wheel drive. Is that weird? Kind of, I guess, but other than that, not really. This wasn't a particularly weird car, like I said, especially during the EV wars, especially during that time. But you want to know what was weird? Mitsubishi, just to grasp this, they were just out of a recession. A recession is very complicated. Essentially, it means bad things for the company in terms of profit, people buying cars in the first place. That means bad things for a company, and we know Suzuki, another Japanese brand that was fairly sized as well and very competitive with Mitsubishi, there are always these, little car wars. We have the big stuff like Apple versus Android, and in the car market, we have, Toyota versus Honda, whatever you like to come up with. And then you have, the smaller ones. This was kind of a smaller war that no one cared about. Like how the Toyota Corolla Matrix was technically fighting with the Versa, although no one cared, right? When you were shopping for a vehicle, you just maybe comparison shopped and then bought the Matrix because you wanted something good, right? That's kind of the truth between Suzuki and Mitsubishi. They were both very Fancy. What message am I getting? Yes. They were both very similarly sized with similar models that were competing against each other. You know, the Suzuki XL7 against the Endeavor. Very simple stuff, right? And again, no one cared. You probably bought a Suzuki, you probably bought a Mitsubishi, doesn't matter. And Suzuki, their main competitor, couldn't withstand the recession, right? The car quality dipped, wages, all that stuff. They couldn't. They just left the US. Now they only make motorcycles here. So when you think about that, that's weird that they would, because imagine you're Mitsubishi. You're a hurting car company. You're out of a recession. The economy has barely built itself up yet, and your sales are still down 22%. Yes, that's a real number, right? Things were going to turn around in a couple of years, but you don't know that yet, right? This is 2009. You're a year into the recession, right? The economy won't heal itself until 2012, right? Or projected at least, which it ended up doing. So why would you make an EV? Like EVs are weird nowadays to make, right? If Toyota came out with a BZ4X, they're a budget brand, right? Putting all that investment into that technology and making your own car model would be weird to them to do because, development costs a lot, which is why this car is so weird. So it's weird, not because it looks like a space potato or because, it's like looks weird or is shaped weird. Just because Mitsubishi was in such a place, such a state at that time where sales was down 22% that year. They were clawing their way back up, the depths of hell, really, just to kind of be competitive again. And they decided that the thing that was going to help them was the Mitsubishi I-MiEV. Another interesting thing, the MiEV came out before the Mirage. Now, if you don't know, Mitsubishi came out with the Mirage because during the recession, people were buying cheaper, smaller cars because that's all they could afford. And so if Mitsubishi had one of these, sure, the profit margins were slim, but they were still selling cars, and that's what they cared about. That's what looks good on paper, at least, and would help keep the company afloat, right? They were working on this vehicle. So why would they come out with an EV during this time period? Well, some people debate that it's just because Mitsubishi thought that EVs would be the answer, right? The recession would hit, people would buy EVs because it's cheaper than gas, and then that's how things would go. Other people debate that Mitsubishi just did that to get a start on the technology or to test Mirage features out on a car that they knew wouldn't sell all that much. The answer is debatable, but essentially, this car is a very interesting car, not because it's weird, but because it's weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird, but not for the reasons that you think it is, right? So with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this video.